Before we get started in the chat, since not everybody's on their cameras, can you let me know if if you have or have not created a feature report before?
This will be my first time.
Okay, good. Then we have a template, and that's in your class files that hopefully you downloaded into the download folder. What that's going to do is that's going to tell me how deep I need to go. So if you get stuck at any time or you have a question, let me know. Not going to go too deep, just enough to make sure that you know what you're doing.
Okay.
So here we go. So right now we are still in Survey123 inside AGOL. And if you're not there in your home screen, you can get there by the 9 dots that are going to be up here by your name. And then so we will be here. Now, the great thing is, Esri set us up for a good amount of success. So if you come here to reports, you can see that there's nothing going on here yet. And we want something to go on there. The first thing we need to do is we need to find out, what does a template look like? So we say use manage templates. Here's the individual record. There are also a summary. There's a summary and there's combined. Since this is our first time, we're just going to do the individual because that's where most of us live. Summaries are more like, okay, if you have a repeat and you need to summarize everything that you did in the repeat, it's kind of a nice little way to do that. So we're just going to create a sample, and that should, I think, come down into your.
Is the summary a lot more difficult to do, Michelle, or is it pretty easy too?
It's pretty easy. You just you're just going to follow similar rules that we do over here. The great thing is when you do the summary, you can see how right here it has, it figured it all out. It pulled all the data and it put it in a Word document for us. So you can hit download template. You can do the same thing for the other ones. So you could say summary. It's going to populate here. And I don't know if it did it because it was working on the other thing. Okay. And now when you go into your documents, I'm going to open both of those up so you can see the difference. So this is the summary. And sample. So they have the same look and feel. They have, you're still going to use the $ and the curly brackets over here. It gets a little bit more fancy right here where the hashtags are. But the great thing is all you have to do is upload this, or actually all you have to do is run it. You'll notice that that one didn't populate here. So if we wanted to see what that summary looked like, downloads, summary, you can just take it, push it back up to the cloud, and then you can run your data that we already took. We took one survey, and you just save it. And now you have both in here, and you can go in and you can just run the report straight from what you already have. And you can see with that and just follow the patterns. So it'll be great. Something I do is I like to use the summary report. So we have a survey. They'll go out to a demolition site and they do all they're collecting all their data because we oversee the third-party contractors. And so our folks, that's my 9 to 5, I work at environmental resource management. So what we do is we send the team out, they take their survey for the daily, and then at the bottom of the survey it says what is going on the weekly report. And the weekly report data is, a condensed version of everything that they just did for that day. And then we have one summary report that has all the weekly the summaries. And then we also have all the daily reports. So, and they both get pushed into certain folders from Power Automate. So you will love this. All right, let me get those opened up back up. Let's see here, that one. And this one, I think. No. I have a lot going on. Let's see. Oh, what I want to do. Okay, so this is what we just brought down. I'm going to my download folder and grabbing that family repeat that that's in your folder. Nope, that's the wrong file. Let's find the Word document. Get there eventually. Here we go. Okay. So this is the Word document that I sent you in the class files. I added a little logo here because you're going to probably want to put your company logo or maybe your client's logo up there. And so I just added that up there. And then it's like it's a word merge is basically what it is. But the difference between a word merge and Esri's word merge is you can put maps and pictures inside Esri's. It's probably really difficult to get it. I haven't tried it because this is so sexy. I don't want to try it the other way, specifically just going through Word. But so here's what we have. So this is everything that it downloaded from Survey123. The things that are really important are hashtags. So I'm just going to come in here real quick, enable, and we're going to find anything with a hashtag because hashtags are repeats. So here's your hashtag. And I might since it was green or teal in my survey, I'm just for good measure, I would probably make it the same because if I have 4 or 5 repeats in mine, I'm going to color it exactly as they are colored in Survey123. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look for backslash. And the backslash is the end of each repeat. Now this gets really complicated when you have nested repeats inside of repeats. And that's where I live. So if you get stuck ever, let me know and I'll help you through it. And then what I would do is if I was creating this over here, I would do the same thing. And I'd say I'd want to make sure that I knew where all my hashtags were and things like that. Well, I've already done that for you. And I made that's the hashtag right there. Let's make it bigger for you. There you go. So what I might do is I want to find and there's the backslash right there. And so as I'm building this, I might just come in here and do that. It's super ugly, but you can delete all the highlights later. And then, so now you can see what's going on. So we have first name, last name, grade. We have the family member's photo. And then we have some information. The reason I did it this way is if I was building an address book, maybe this is how I wanted to do it. We'd have head of household, that's your main survey. The family photo might go there. And then some information. So does all that make sense so far? Now, just so that everybody knows, if you have a nested repeat, I like to do in my work life surveys, I like to put a photo repeat inside of my dailies. So you've got your main survey, you've got your first repeat, which is now that my phone's on, it's making noise. You have a repeat, nested repeat. So I like to put if I'm doing multiple pictures and I need a comment for each picture, which I do all the time, I put it inside a nested repeat inside the daily. So what that might look like is, let me find an image real quick. There's one. So mine might say, I might say, so it would have a repeat. So let's just grab this. We're going to make this really ugly, but it'll be functional. So here's your photo. And I might say family member photo. That's going to be the name. And then I might say, we might have a comment for that. It's going to look like. And then some kind of this is just fake, but comment. And maybe you want to put, what they want. Maybe that was what they wanted to be when they grow up or something like that. And then what you're going to do is make sure that you put that a different color. super ugly, but functional. And then what you would do is if you were down here and you needed that photo, you would actually have to put your hashtag probably right there. And then you might say your copy, and underneath you might, you might put it in here. Something like that. And then this would be pink also. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. It's just like programming. You gotta push into the next level, then you gotta push back out into the next level. So I'm gonna delete those two for now because we're actually gonna put this up in the cloud. And we can get rid of this one. Now, something that I like to do, file, save. I didn't do it on this computer, but it's something that I like to do is I like to add that there's a button where you can somehow, I don't know where it is, but it's like putting the save as button right here at the very top. And the reason for that is once you're in AGOL, once you have a feature report up there with one name, you can't ever use that. Well, after you delete it, you can use it, but you can't reuse the name. So I'm always coming in going save as, and then whatever this looks like. I like to say, if I'm updating things, I might say 2027, and I might say A, because I might do this 12 times today, and I can just say A, B, C, D, E, and I know exactly what day I did it. And then come back in here and say new template, and you're going to select your new template, and there it is, 327A. And you can change the name here, you can add a summary. If there's specific things I was tweaking, I might add something in the summary like worked on a new date field or something like that. And it's just so that for myself, I can see what I'm doing. And when you say save, it's going to go back out into Survey123 and say, okay, did everything connect? And if sometimes you're going to get a field that says, family phone number isn't in this repeat. And so then you go, oh, that's because it's really in the main repeat and I was trying to push it through to this one, and just make sure that it kind of falls where it needs to go. And then, so now that we have that feature report, you can click here or you can click here. And then you're going to have a repeat name, or I'm sorry, a report name. And you can grab data from your survey. I don't think mine's open anymore. And you could say head of household. Try that, head of household. Maybe you say, and you can put a comma, and you could say maybe phone number, because phone number, you could always have a Williams, and then you could, a phone number would help out. Let's see here, something like this. I'm doing this off the cuff, so if that's wrong, I can fix it. And you can also do these preview sample report, and that's free. If you generate a report, it's 0.5 credits, I believe, if it's still the same. We can show credits here in just a second. Now, if you put a date in here, up here, before, I don't know if it does still, but if you put a date, it's that microsecond date, and it's really ugly. So what we do is we'll put a date, and then we'll put a text field, and we'll copy the date into a text field. Okay, so something happened. What went wrong? I'm going to try not adding all of this for now. I'm going to get into my toolbox and find out what I did wrong. Let me close this one. If you've never seen my toolbox before, welcome to my world. Remember I said that there was one template that I did that I looked for, and it had scripts in it. It's this one here, RIPA, police stops, and school information. So if you add a new survey and grab that template, that'll be cool. Let me see, inbox code, pull data. Somewhere. It's somewhere. I'll find it. Anyways, there's somewhere in my toolbox that tells me how to actually do that correctly. And I'll put it in our chat. Anyway, so here it is, Boomba with some funny information, Bruce Boomba family, photo date. I did not take a photo. Tells me where I am. And then all this information down here. I didn't add anything here. I just added my husband's name. And so that's how that works. How do you feel about that? Okay, now I can see you can nod your head. Good, thumbs up.
I never liked the reports. I always
Okay.
thought they were clunky.
Well, that's because you haven't had me teach you how to do it.
So I
Now
haven't used them. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll get you through your trauma, and we'll work through
no,
this.
I'm not doing reports. That comes later.
Okay.
I can only learn so much at once.
Okay. How about
So one thing when you click that quick reference in there on the website, it comes up with all of the syntax already developed for you for your report.
Yes.
And it does show you stuff about all the repeats in there. I've successfully done some repeats, but I've had a couple issues, and I think it's kind of on the reporting, more on the formatting of the Word doc than it is so much of like what I'm doing on the survey side. I'm curious about that. Is there a preference on when to use like the cells in Word versus just, I guess, just having text floating? Or
Well, your text floating is that's it depends on who your end user is for your report, your stakeholder. What do you want to tell them? And so your floating text is things that are all going to be consistent. Maybe for us, we were looking at the family. Maybe let's see here. So we're looking at this family one, and we could say, we could put a note here that says, hey, if, to the families or something like that, we could say, I could dictate it. Let's see what we got. If you have any special events happening in your family or milestones, then please redo this survey so that we have accurate records. Something like that. It's really just to tell your end user what do you want to tell them, as your stakeholder. Maybe you want to say, so we have one where it's for stormwater. And if there's something that a work order needs to happen, that's when we power automate something out, because we don't want to power automate every single report because it still costs you 50 cents or half a credit. So we have triggers that says, if a work order is needed or if a work order is not needed. And then they can go out on a second inspection and say close work order. Because, now that this one has a work order, close work order or expedite work order. So we have two different triggers. We have a first trigger that goes out that says work order is happening. You need to get on that, whatever that looks like. And then if it's expedited, it goes out to the team and it goes out to the project manager. So, using your triggers appropriately. And I don't remember what your question was. I'm so sorry.
Oh yeah, all right. So when you're formatting your Word file for the repeat, so you're saying basically like the static stuff, or I guess that's like will go in the name up there, but then the repeat stuff will go in the tables.
Yes. So this is your so this is your static information that comes in with data. And then like family album inspection, that's just floating text. It's going to be the same every single time. Is there any other floating text that I might have in here? Oh, this is floating text. So down here, all these are floating text. There's nothing attached to it. It's just like a placeholder. It's kind of like a little title. And then you have your answers.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, so I think it worked. Let's find out. Now, when you do the sample reports, oh, I think I showed this to you. When you do your sample reports, those are going to be PDFs because they don't want you to be able to use them. They're not useful. And then when you do the generate report, it's going to be, I think you have an option. Oh yeah, you do have an option. You can do it PDF or Word document. So now that it works, we can go into Power Automate if you're ready. Or do you need a break for a minute? Or is anybody catching up? Okay. So everybody's submitted their report into Survey123 or into this so that we can grab it from Power Automate. Let me give you 10 minutes because the next part gets complicated. Okay, I'm here. I'm just gonna set up for class. So if you need me, let me know.